I got a phone call early one morning from Sean Barnes and his brother saying that he was going to be released. And I had a reoccurring dream that I got a call from, but was from his mother, my dream. And I was just like, Sean, I've had this dream so many times that he was going to be released. Is this not? He goes, it's true. So, and then to see him walk through the door, and have the shackles taken off of him. It was just incredible. It was like Christmas.
Oh, I can remember that morning driving there. I was driving myself there, and I'm thinking to myself, how many other people in this world right now are driving to the release of their brother that's been incarcerated for 20 years for a crime that he didn't commit? And I was thinking to myself, nobody. I'm the only one that this is happening to today. But still was afraid that something was going to happen at the last minute and they're going to change their mind, and it really wasn't going to happen.
They still had to bring Stephen all chained up just like an animal, even though they knew he was already innocent. And Scott McNamara was there, and he, read the results of the DNA, and this excluded him, and I asked that the verdict be vacated. And Judge Dwyer says, I'm vacating the sentence, and you're free to go.
To me, the most vivid moment was when Stephen was brought into the courtroom. He had handcuffs and shackles on, and a female deputy sheriff was told to remove his handcuffs. And she removed them, and I heard the chains that dropped to the ground.
That was probably one of the most dramatic moments of my life. That was just, you could hear a pin drop, and then you heard those shackles drop to the ground.
And the noise kind of echoed, at least in my mind, through the whole courtroom. And people I've talked to said that to them, that was one of the most incredible sounds that they'd ever heard.
And it was like a truck was lifted off my back. Even the cameramen were crying. You couldn't help it. You just couldn't watch it without being emotionally involved, even if you didn't know him.
You could just look around the room and see tears in people's eyes and smiles as broad as you could ever hope to see. And it was just an incredible atmosphere.
No plate glass today as he hugged his mom, stepdad, and siblings for the first time in nearly 20 years.
So I'm overwhelmed, It's the happiest day of my life. I waited for this for 20 years.
20 years that saw sweeping changes in a world that stayed exactly the same in Barnes' prison cell.
No, I don't know what the internet is. I don't know what a cell phone is. No,
What about a BlackBerry?
Yeah.
I was in shock first few days. I lived in the town of Marcy my whole life, and I couldn't believe all the different places were gone, and new houses, apartments, how the cars have changed.
Ed Lewandowski recalls Steve's fascination with new technology that we take for granted.
GPS, what's that? He was loving that. So you just plug in the address. I go, yeah. And it tells you, it'll talk to you, tells you where to go. He's like, come on. And I'm like, yeah.
I remember when I first went into a restaurant and you walk into the sink and put your hands under the faucet and the water comes on and automatic. They didn't have that years ago.
That first trip to a restaurant came on the day of Steve's release.
It's a tradition of the Innocent Project. They take you out for your first meal.
Larry Golden was at that dinner.
I looked over and Stephen was looking at his food, but also holding a fork in one hand and a knife in the other hand and looking kind of back and forth at these two utensils. And someone said, is something wrong? And he said,
Man, real silverware. Haven't used silverware in 20 years.
And it just really drove home the meaning of what he had lost in those 20 years.
Small things that other people be big things to me. Like, when I first came home, my mom was up in Marcy. I was to take a walk.
I said, you know what it was to go for a walk and I could go as far as I wanted? He said, no guards are watching me and there was no fence. I go, Steve, I never thought about that.
Just shy of 2 months since Stephen Barnes' murder conviction was vacated, today He's exonerated on all charges.
It was January 9th, 2009.
Our system, which I still believe is the best in the world, failed Mr. Barnes. And for that, I'm sorry.
Though Oneida County District Attorney Scott McNamara was not involved in Steve's prosecution, he offered him an apology. And Steve reflected on things that might have been.
Well, I missed out on career, a family.
When they get out, you don't know. Is this going to be somebody who lands on his feet? Is this going to be somebody who's going to have a rough transition back?
Alba Morales, Steve's Innocence Project attorney.
It's so sudden. It's not like, he's paroled and then he goes through this whole process. It's, he's in, he's out.